back to my channel. It's Marissa Explains It All. I am in my craft room, aka Santa's workshop, where I have been trying to make Christmas gifts, and I wanted to share with you guys what I've been making, the 12 gifts of Christmas I'm calling it. These are 12 gift ideas that you can make for friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, whoever you need to gift for this year. And whether or not you're trying to do Christmas on a dime because of all of the crazy prices this year, or if you're just trying to return to a more personal, handmade, homemade Christmas, these are things that you can make easily at home with limited craft knowledge and supplies. So hopefully that sounds interesting to you guys. Stay tuned and I'll be right back. First up, we have a kitchen set, and this is probably the easiest one to put together, so I chose this one first. Everything is from Target. So you'll need a mini cheese board. I got this one for $7. It's about the size of my hand. And next you'll need a dish towel. I actually bought a big one because I like the color and the plaid, but a smaller one would work well. It was $3. You'll also need some nice dish soap like Mrs. Meyer's. I chose lemon verbena, and that was $4.89 at Target. And you'll also need a Christmas ribbon and a nice tag. So I just folded the dish towel because this one is pretty big, and I laid it on top of the board with the soap, tied a nice bow, and added my gift tag, and there you have it. Very simple and a nice present ready to go, and I got everything from the Target pickup, which is even better because I didn't have to get out of the car. So I really liked how this one turned out. Next up is homemade vanilla extract, just 2 ingredients. You'll need some vanilla beans, and I picked up 10 bean pods from Amazon for $11.99. And we also need some vodka. So I bought 750 milliliters of Smirnoff, but I was told by my husband that there are better brands of vodka, so definitely get whichever brand you like. That was $16.95, and I had some left over. I am using kitchen shears to do this, but you can also use a knife if you prefer. I bought 2-ounce glass bottles from Amazon to hold them. They come in an 8-pack for $8.50, and it comes with a little stainless steel funnel. So I start by taking a pod and using scissors or your knife, go ahead and split it in half. So I just used my scissors here to cut it, and this is what the inside looks like, and all of the flecks are like the vanilla bean like essence, those tiny little flecks. And so next you'll want to go ahead and cut them in half. I just used about 1.5 bean pods per 2-ounce bottle, and so that would fit in. So it's several sprigs, and then next just pour your vodka in and all the way to the top and cap it tightly. You'll want a label, so you can handwrite this, but I really wanted to elevate the look of these, so I bought editable vanilla extract labels from Etsy for $5.50 and printed them on sticker paper. It explains how to shake it before use and that you can refill it with vodka like over and over because you can use them, the beans over and over. And it talks about when it'll be ready because they do take 2 months to fully steep. So you can gift them now, but they won't be ready until February. So I wrapped them with baker's twine, and this is how they turned out. Very nice looking with the glass bottles. And I think the label really adds a lot. And then they will darken over time. It gets to be a darker amber color once they are fully steeped. Next up is a simmer pot. To make your house smell like Christmas, you'll need either dried oranges, which I show you how to do if you click the top link in the right-hand corner, or a fresh orange that the recipient can kind of cut themselves. You'll also need cranberries and some fresh rosemary sprigs, some cinnamon sticks, and either cinnamon ground or nutmeg ground, and then whole cloves. And to bag these up, I'm using these cone bags from Michael's for $2.99. And then, of course, some baker's twine and some tags. I'm using these printable tags that have the simmer pot instructions on them, as well as a decorative set of tags to go on top, and they're linked below. So start out by measuring a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg or cinnamon, and you can use a 1/2 teaspoon of both if you prefer. I'm just using cinnamon here. And I try to open up the bag and get the spoon as close to the bottom as possible so it doesn't get too much on the sides of the bag. And next I'm measuring out a 1/2 teaspoon of whole cloves. And then once that's done and shaken down, I'm adding just a nice handful of the fresh cranberries. And then you can add in your couple sprigs of rosemary and a cinnamon stick or 2. These can be from the Michael's craft store, or you can get these from the spice aisle. And then added some dried oranges. You can use a few slices, but I was running out here, so I just kind of put in 2 slices, but do as many as you'd like or add your whole orange. And then simply tie it up with your baker's twine and add your instructions on how to reconstitute the simmer pot and your top tag. And I'll just kind of slip all that on. And then you have a really pretty fresh gift that will make the house smell great. And a lot of people really like just receiving these, and it makes a really nice presentation with the variety of colors and textures. And I didn't make one for myself, and I should have. Next, we have a sugar cookie body scrub in a jar. So first you'll need some organic coconut oil. I'm just using one from Walmart. And you'll also need some granulated sugar, and then some Christmas nonpareil sprinkles, which are the tiny little ball sprinkles and not the Jimmy's kind that are longer. I get these from Walmart, and you can also get them from Michael's. You'll also need a jar with a locking lid, which you can pick up from Dollar Tree, Amazon, and Michael's, and some baker's twine, and of course a tag, and some vanilla essential oil. This was $8.99 from Walmart. So start by measuring out 1/4 cup of coconut oil, and it's solid at room temperature, so you can sort of scrape it out into a measuring cup and press it down and microwave for 30 seconds until fully melted. Add in 6 drops of your essential oil, give it a stir, and then you're going to add in 1 cup of granulated sugar. Once you mix it, it should be somewhat dry and crumbly and ready to stir in your fun Christmas sprinkles. Just 1 tablespoon will do. Go ahead and mix that in really well and just spoon it into your jar. And I ended up needing to make a double batch to fill this jar. I got this at Michael's on sale instead of Dollar Tree, so it was kind of a little bit bigger, but it turned out really well. And I topped it off with some baker's twine, and of course, don't forget your tag. And this is what it looks like. It smells great, just like a sugar cookie, and it helps with that dull kind of winter dry skin. So this was another one that I kind of wish I had made myself and kept one for myself. Next up is a cookie mix in a jar, which is great for easy holiday baking. So you'll need some granulated sugar, all-purpose flour, some light brown sugar, baking soda, some salt, some Christmas M&Ms. You can use mini or regular, full, and then a nice jar, and some chocolate chips. I got this jar from Dollar Tree. It's actually a nice, really big one, and so I went ahead and used that. And so, of course, baker's twine in your tag. So thoroughly wash and dry your jar, and then start by adding in 1.5 cups of flour. I do try to settle it a little bit so it's level, so I just kind of shake it and try to get it a little bit so that the layers look nice and even. And then add in 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then add in 1/2 cup of your brown sugar. So I do pack it in with a knife to make sure it's nice and packed down and that it's level. And then once that's ready, I dump it into the jar and then use a knife to sort of break it up a little bit and push it to the outer level so that the layers kind of look nicer than that. So then I add in my 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. And I realized my jar was huge, so I did a double batch and layered all of those ingredients again. And then I finished off with my M&Ms, and I actually added more off camera to fill it up. So it's about 1 cup of M&Ms I ended up using. And then cap it tightly, and I just went ahead and tied my baker's twine around the outside. And then I wrote out instructions for how to bake them. So I'll put those on the screen here so you can print out the instructions if you need. And here it is, all finished and really easy for someone to mix up a double batch of Christmas cookies. Next up are these custom Scrabble letter ornaments for your tree. You'll need some ribbon. I picked this up from Michael's and it's 7/8 of an inch, but you can get slightly thinner ribbon like this red one that I got from Dollar Tree, or you can get thicker ribbon if you want more of it to show around the letters. You'll also need Scrabble letters. I got 200 pieces from Amazon for $5.99, which is plenty for lots of different craft projects. And I'm also using my baker's twine here and a hot glue gun. So first pick out your letters for the person's name. You can do their first name or their last name, or even something generic like Noel or Believe. Then simply start by laying your letters out and starting at the bottom of your letters so you can get the spacing right. I just hot glue them all on, just leaving like a tiny little space, maybe 1/8 of an inch in between each letter, so that a little bit of the ribbon shows through. And then once you're done gluing them on, I did use a contrasting ribbon to tie a bow, and I glued that right on the top of the letters. And then I went ahead and hooked around at the top of the ornament. I tied a nice baker's twine like loop. A couple inches maybe will do, maybe 2 or 3 inches of just a nice circle. I knotted that and I hooked it around the top of the ornament and folded the ribbon over, and then I just hot glued the back down. So very simple, and there you have it. You can use different color ribbons, and you can even cut the ends diagonally. Or even a notch just to give it more style, but this is how mine turned out. One using the plaid ribbon, of course, the other just using the red ribbon. Next up is a hot cocoa kit, perfect for cold winter nights snuggled up on the couch with a Hallmark movie. I'm starting with a Dollar Tree candy dish, and you'll need some cocoa. I'm partial to Starbucks peppermint cocoa mix, but you can use Swiss Miss, which is also sold at Dollar Tree, or something else. I'm using a Dollar Tree mug, which is pretty with the gold rim, and also using some Dollar Tree spoons. So these are three for $1.25. And then for the chocolate, I'm just using chocolate chips for melting. Just use your favorite chocolate. Nestle works. Ghirardelli is always a good choice. You'll need some treat bags from Dollar Tree, and I'm using those with some twist ties. Some toppings like sprinkles. I'm using these from Walmart just for a couple dollars. And then using some mini marshmallows, and also using some candy canes. And I also recommend gloves for sanitary food handling. So start by heating up 1 cup of chocolate chips in the microwave, 30 seconds at a time. And while that's melting, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing my candy canes. I do this by crushing them up in the bag, which makes them so much easier for cleanup. So once your chocolate's melted, I switch to gloves and I dip my wash spoon into the chocolate, just making sure to get a nice glob on the spoon. So you don't want to like tap too much off. You want to keep it level and leave all that chocolate in there. And I'm making 3 different versions here. So one with sprinkles, which I'm starting with. So I generously pour those on top and even on the bottom a little bit to sort of coat the back of the spoon. And I'm laying this on parchment paper to dry. I didn't mention that you'll also need parchment paper. I'm doing the second spoon the same way by dipping in and ladling a good amount of chocolate, and then I'm using some mini marshmallows to place them on top. And these are a little bit harder to kind of get to stay, but you can fit a few on there, maybe 5 or 6 on there, just on the front. And I went ahead and set that on the parchment paper. And then the third is going to be topped with candy canes to make like a chocolate peppermint flavor. And so I just went ahead and used my crushed candy canes and sprinkled those right on top and somewhat on the back. And so I set those aside to dry at room temperature, or you can put them in the fridge for faster setting. And so while those are setting up, I am putting together some Christmas sprinkles and some mini marshmallows into the Dollar Tree treat bags. So I'm doing that now so that the recipient can use those and sprinkle inside their hot cocoa if they wish as an extra topping. And so now that my spoons are ready, I pulled those out of the fridge because I'm impatient and I wanted them to set up quickly. So go ahead and pick off any of the edges that don't look neat. You can use the heat from your hands, or you can just snap the extra chocolate off to kind of make the edges look cleaner. That's what I'm doing here with the peppermint to not make it look so crazy. And then I'm cutting a few treat bags just to cover the top of the spoons and keep them sealed. So I just stick that in there and then use a twist tie to keep them nice and sealed and airtight. So to assemble, I'm laying the hot cocoa packets in the dish. I just used 3 here because I have 3 spoons. And then laying the mug on top, I went ahead and put my toppings in the front, and I'm sort of tucking in some candy canes if they want to dip those in. And then lastly, just tucking in my hot chocolate spoons into the mug. And ideally I would have shrink wrap here to have everything contained in plastic, but I accidentally bought regular clear gift bags and not the kind that you shrink with a dryer. And so I actually have to tape everything down instead of being able to just kind of have it contained by the plastic and shrink wrapped. So I recommend the shrink wrap, but if you don't have that, or if you don't want to buy that, then you can definitely use double-sided stick tape. Just stick it down so it doesn't move. And then I am wrapping everything up with a Christmas ribbon, and I loop the ribbon through the handle of the mug just for a little extra security. Tie a nice little bow, and that's it. Super cute. And again, I think I almost kept this one for myself. I'm starting to identify like a trend here. Should have made some for myself. Next up is another simple one, an essential oil room or linen spray. So I am using a Dollar Tree plastic spray bottle. I got 2 of them, but you can buy glass to elevate the look. So you'll also need some witch hazel and you'll need your favorite essential oils. I'm using lavender and eucalyptus. You'll need some distilled water, and then lastly, some flower picks. And you can, of course, buy the flowers from Dollar Tree, but I didn't love the selection this time of year, and I thought these lavender and basil picks from Walmart were much better quality and not much more expensive. I want to say like $2.99. So go ahead and start by snipping off your small sprigs of your florals and place them inside of the bottles. Then next, fill up your bottles halfway with witch hazel. And once you have those filled up, drop in 35 to 40 drops of your essential oil. And then you'll want to fill up the rest of the bottle with your distilled water. Once they're all full, go ahead and cap them, give them a swirl, and there you have it. They look so fresh and they smell great. You do smell the witch hazel first, and then that dissipates within a few seconds, just leaving the smell of the essential oil. Next up is another edible treat, chocolate bark. Super delicious. So first you'll need some parchment paper and some chocolate for melting. I am using white Ghirardelli chocolate in a 4-ounce bar and a milk chocolate in a 10-ounce bag. And then you'll need some toppings of whatever you choose. So I like things like coconut, I'm using nuts, I am using peanuts and peanut butter chips. I had some Heath bar from something else, Heath Bits, and then I like these 100-calorie nuts snack packs that have some multiple things in them. And then, of course, for holiday fun, some candy canes. So I start by laying my parchment paper out on a baking sheet, and I fill up my microwave-safe bowls with 2 chocolates. I heat them one at a time for 30 seconds at a time, just kind of making sure not to scorch the chocolate until they're all melted. So starting with the white chocolate here, I'm pouring out the chocolate onto the parchment paper, and just kind of spread it out with a spatula. Don't spread it too thin because then it will break too easily. This one doesn't make very much because it's only 4 ounces, but with food safe gloves, I am dropping in my toppings while it's still really warm. And so this one is cashews, almonds, and dried cranberries. And then on the other side, I'm using my crushed candy canes to make a white chocolate peppermint flavor, which some people really like, especially this time of year. And then I melted my milk chocolate and did the same thing, pouring it into a rough rectangle shape, and then started adding toppings to different parts of the chocolate. And so I actually let my chocolate cool too much before spreading, and you can see that as I go on in time here, it loses some of its shine, and the toppings don't stick as well. So definitely try to work quickly once your chocolate's melted. I did the toffee bits and nuts. I did coconut almond, which I really like. It's like a almond joy. And then I did also some peppermint bark for this one, just with the crushed candy cane in the center. So leave this to set for 10-15 minutes. You can also pop in the fridge. The white chocolate was not done yet. You can kind of test it to see if it's still malleable. The milk chocolate was further along and really dried very quickly. So I just started breaking it up into pieces. And you can use a knife to help you separate out the different flavors more cleanly and sort of score it before you end up breaking it up into smaller little bite-sized pieces. And then when I was all happy with how my bark had been broken up into its various flavors, I lined up a Dollar Tree gifting tin with some parchment paper, and I just started stacking in my bark, mixing in the different flavors. I kind of mixed and matched, and then when the white chocolate was done, I added those as well. And this is how it turned out. I think it looks great, and it's fully customizable to whatever toppings the person really likes to eat this time of year. Next up is this adorable latte candle that smells really good enough to eat. So I'm starting with a Dollar Tree clear glass latte mug. And you'll also need 3 packs of caramel scented Dollar Tree wax melts and a tall white unscented candle. And you'll also need some Christmas sprinkles from Walmart. These were just a couple bucks. And you'll also find it useful to have a mixer and some pots for boiling. And then I also failed to mention here a hot glue gun and a piping bag and an open star tip. So I start by chopping up all the wax melts into smaller pieces. It's very soft and easy to cut, and it helps it melt more quickly and evenly. So starting with the larger candle, because that one takes more time to melt down, I placed that into a pot of boiling water and I boiled it for about 20 minutes. When it's almost done, I go ahead and start your wax melts. So I'm using a double boiler method for this one, just by putting the smaller pot with the melts inside of a larger pot of boiling water. And these only took about 5 minutes to melt down. They were very quick. And I use a plastic spoon here for easier cleanup to stir. And so once that's done, go ahead and remove that from the heat and then take out your white candle. Of course, be careful because it's hot, so I'm using a pot holder here. And then we're going to rescue the wick. We need to use the wick from this. So take a craft stick or chopstick or something else and fish out that wick. And then I do use a hot glue gun to hot glue the wick into the center of the mug. And then I wrap the top of the wick around like a chopstick or a pencil just to secure it at the top. And then we are ready to pour in our candle melts. So go ahead and pour those in. This makes a nice caramel color, and start to let it cool. I did put mine in the fridge. You can also do the freezer just for rapid cooling. And then we're ready to process the foam on top, which is the white candle. So I pour that into a mixer, and a KitchenAid is great for this, but you can use a hand mixer. And so mix this on medium-high speed. It'll start off as liquid, and as it cools, it becomes frothier, and then it moves to the consistency of like a creamy frosting. This only took a few minutes, which actually was not long. And so then I just placed that into a piping bag fitted with a wide open star tip. And if you don't have a tip, you can just snip the end of the bag open just in straight with some scissors. And I pipe the wax while it's still hot. Really important to work quickly here before it cools too much. And so I'm just kind of adding it on in little globs to make it look like foam. And then while it's still hot or still warm before it sets, I am adding in my Christmas sprinkles. So I'm doing that here to make it look nice and festive. And then when that is done, or even halfway through, you can kind of slip out the chopstick and then trim the wick down. And this is how it turned out. It's super adorable, and it smells great, and it's just so cute that you want to drink it. I was very pleasantly surprised with how this one turned out. Next up is an ice cream sundae kit. It's great for families with kids. So I'm starting out with a basket, and you can use one that you already have or from Dollar Tree, but I really liked this one from the Target dollar spot. So this one was a little bit more at $5. You'll need some gift shred, and so you can also get this at the Dollar Tree. And then you'll need some caramel syrup, some hot fudge, and cherries, and some other toppings like Heath bar, peanut butter chips, maybe some mixed nuts. I also am using some treat cups that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, or these were actually at Walmart for something really cheap like $1.50. You'll need some ice cream cones. I did remove those from the box just to fit a little bit easier. I'm using Dollar Tree treat bags for the toppings and some Christmas sprinkles to make everything more fun. So I start out by spreading out the shred, breaking up 2 packs into the bottom of the basket, and then add in your ice cream cones and your treat cups and your syrups, your cherries. And then I switch to the toppings, and I do use gloves here for safe food handling. I pour in the sprinkles into the Dollar Tree bags, and also the Heath bar and the peanut butter chips and the nuts. I just kind of pour everything into the little bags and kind of fold them over and place them inside. And these are a great deal because you get a bunch for $1.25. And I also added at the very end an ice cream scoop, and this was actually mine as a placeholder, but I did buy a red plastic one from Walmart for 97 cents, and it looked really cute with the red, and it was looking a little bit bare, so I did end up adding these Christmas tree figurines, 3 for $1.25 at Dollar Tree. And then I added a ribbon and a tag, of course. And I was going to actually shrink wrap these, so I bought some gift bags, but I accidentally bought regular gift bags and not the kind that shrink with a hairdryer. So here is his before the bags, and then here I am trying to put it in the bag, and trying to, I added a bow, and I tried to heat it up like a silly person, and it wasn't working, and so I realized I bought the wrong thing, and so I just left the bag and tied a bow. So it's the thought that counts, right? Lastly, we have this dried orange wreath that's giving very rustic vintage vibes. So I'm using a Grapevine Wreath from Michael's as my base for $4.49. And then for the greenery, I picked up some snowy juniper berry on sale from Michael's from $5.61. And then a pine leaf and pine cone pick for $6.72. I had some pine cones already, but they're just a few bucks. And then I got this bell pick for $2.24, and I love it. It actually jingles and everything. Super cute. And then lastly, you will need some dried oranges. And so I'm using the tutorial that I just posted recently, and that's linked at the top right, to dehydrate 3 oranges for this project. And then of course you'll need a hot glue gun and lots of glue. So I started out by taking some of the pieces off the main stem of the juniper branch. I'm just kind of picking them off, or you can snip them off with wire cutters. And then I laid the juniper in a pattern kind of just offset to the left, kind of just however it looked nice to me. flopped over more to the left than the right, and then glued those down generously. And then I layered on the pine on top. I like the mixture of the greens, and then glued that all down. And when in doubt, if it moves, glue it. Always use more glue. Next, I added on the oranges, and I found the most success with gluing the middle and the outer edges of the orange, since they stick up and make more contact with the wreath base, but I still covered the whole orange slice regardless with glue. And glued them all on in place in sort of like an offset pattern, kind of layering some over the top. And then it was time to add our festive bells. So I went ahead and cut the stick down a little bit shorter and added a bunch of hot glue and shoved it in the wreath for a little bit of stability. And once that was dry, I wanted to place something a little bit over top. So I did glue down 2 of my pine cones just to add a little bit more something to cover the bells. And this is how it turns out. I absolutely love it. It's super cute, and the bells make such a merry sound when you open the door, and it tinkles. And so I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and hopefully my mom does too, because I'll be gifting this to her for Christmas, except now that she's seen this video, I think she already knows. So that is everything. As you can see, pretty simple and cost effective to make most of these, especially if you're doing a lot of them in bulk. So let me know if you have questions in the comments below. I've tried to link everything in the description box that you might need, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And feel free to subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. Hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you next time for the next DIY. Bye guys.